My guest this time on the podcast is Baz Warne. Baz is the current guitarist and vocalist of the Stranglers, having joined the band in the year 2000. Baz has been there almost 25 years, and the Stranglers go out and tour the start of March, starting at the Clyde Auditorium in Glasgow for their 50th anniversary tour. Baz spoke all about joining the band as guitarist and then stepping up to singing some of these iconic songs. We spoke about all this, plus the upcoming tour, and a whole lot more. Baz was a fantastic guest, really engaging. Hope you enjoy the episode. And as I've said previously, if you can like, share, subscribe, tell your pals, do whatever you need to do, get this podcast to the masses. Get in touch with me on the socials or on my email. Right, on the podcast today, I've got Baz Warne, the frontman of the Stranglers, which he has been for about 24 years, if I'm right. The Stranglers are going on a 50th anniversary tour at the start of March, so we're here to kind of promote that, but we're going to get back to the start first. What was life like for a young Baz Warne growing up? Where did you grow up? And what were your early paths into music, so to speak?
I grew up in Sunderland in the northeast of England. And I started playing guitar when I was 10. Just had a colossal interest in it. I think it was watching early episodes of Top of the Pops with Status Quo and Free and all these great bands with guitars. I was more initially into rock music, the heavier side of rock music. So I was a big Motorhead fan, AC/DC, Rush, all that type of thing. But, you know, in the heyday or the initial rumblings of punk in this country, in 1977, I was only 13, so I was a little bit young for all of that. But as I got older, it started filtering through, and I realised that some of it was actually really quite good, and a lot of it was pretty crap, you know. But people were out there doing their own thing, and that was what interested me. And, of course, when you see lads in the schoolyard carrying guitars around, it's like, where did you get that? You know, how do I get one type of thing? So I got my first electric guitar when I was 13. My aunt bought it for me, my aunt, and I paid her back by delivering papers and milk, as was the style of the day in the 1970s. I was a paper boy and a milk boy, and that's how I got my first guitar. There was a famous pub in the town called the Old 29, which is long since gone. The irony of it is that they knocked it down and they built a law court on top of it. And it was a real scuzzy pub. There was a lot of stuff went on in there. And I love the irony of that. And I used to go there every Saturday at lunchtime to watch bands, saw hundreds of bands there. Underage, I used to stand at the back with a pal of mine who bought me half a lager, and we would watch these bands, and it was just all part of the education, you know. And then when I was in my late teens, I joined a punk band called the Toy Dolls, Nelly the Elephant and all that bollocks. And I played bass with them for about 18 months. Was lucky enough to tour the United States twice, lots of gigs around Europe, and that's what gave me the real impetus, if you like, to do what I do now. And it gave me the shove, and I realised that I could actually do it for a living. And to be honest with you, ever since that time, it was all I ever wanted to do. I mean, I've had jobs, I worked in an office, and like everybody else, JJ Burnell drove a paint delivery van. Dave Greenfield and Jed Black tuned pianos for a living, and he was an off license, all kinds of different things. So I did my share of menial stuff, I suppose, if you want to call it that. But in the back of my mind, it was always, right, when can I get a guitar? And you would build up your guitar, get a better one, sell it, get a better one, until I finally managed to get the dream guitar, which was a Fender Telecaster. And I got that when I was 18, and it was the one I auditioned for the Stranglers with, and one of my prized possessions. So that's a potted history. There's lots went on. But Sunderland was a good place to grow up in the 70s and 80s. It was quite provincial. The jungle drums took a while for things to get up there, pre-internet days. Punk was just a London thing for a long time, and then it started branching out as the press got a hold of it. And then you'd see bands like the Stranglers and the Ruts and the Clash, and they'd all start touring the whole of the UK, and mates from school would go and see stuff like that, and then you just schoolyard, like a lot of people. I mean, I stayed on in the sixth form, so I didn't leave school until I was gone 16. With some vague attempt to appease my parents and be get gainful employment and a handful of O levels and A levels, which I did get a few, but nothing major, And honestly, as soon as I played in a band, a good band, that was all I ever wanted to do.
So when you started playing in bands then, and obviously for the time you started to the time you joined the Stranglers, how aware were you of the Stranglers, and were you a big fan?
I wasn't a big fan, but I was a fan. I had the first 3 albums. I came to the Stranglers actually through the second album first, No More Heroes. Somebody had it at a party I went to when I was a kid, and I loved it. I went back one and got Rattus, and then literally the week that Black and White came out, I went down into the town and bought it. The one thing that I did know about them was that they didn't sound like anybody else. And as you grow up and you decide you want to be in a band, you want to be as original as you can and have a blueprint all of your own and not sound like anybody else. And there's no one sounds like the Stranglers with that bass and that keyboard. It's instantly identifiable. And so I was aware of them because, you heard them and it was like, even at that young age, you go, oh, that's the Stranglers, Never did get to see them, the original lineup, although they came to Sunderland on the Raven tour, I believe, in 1980 or whenever it was. I was supposed to go with some pals who did go, but I didn't. Can't remember why. So the first time I actually ever saw the band was in the 5-piece days with John Ellis and Paul Roberts in the early 1990s. And I thought they were really good. They were good. They sounded just like, they had the drums, the bass and the keyboards. The guitar playing he stuck pretty much to what Hugh Cornwell had been doing, and Paul Roberts was a great singer. Whether he was a Stranglers singer or not remains a thing for people to discuss, but I thought they were really good,
Right. So when you joined, how much pressure is there on that? Obviously, joining an iconic band and you're taking on Hugh Cornwell's role, so to speak. How did the fans take to you initially? Did you need to win them?
Well, I was relatively lucky because when I joined, I only joined as a guitar player. I was in the 5-piece Stranglers for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I stood at the side, played guitar, learned my craft, got to know the rest of the lads, the politics behind the band, the stories. We were pretty inseparable for those first 6 years. I mean, we did an awful lot of gigging and touring. And after about 6, 7, maybe 8 months, I just felt completely at home. I was welcomed into the fold. They all became very fast friends. I think Jet Black was the one that latched onto me first. Me and him just seemed to really get on well. And I got on well with Dave, although Dave was a lot quieter. And then, of course, me and JJ, we've been together ever since. So, in fact, he's upstairs now somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I was taught, you know, I mean, my predecessor, without wishing to cast any aspersions on anybody, good guitar player, John Ellis, but we would watch them. We toured with them twice, and we would watch them, and he just wasn't faithful to the you know, the classic solos that need to be played. I mean, everybody likes to stretch out, everybody likes to put their own stamp on things. I was told I would do whatever the fuck I wanted, as long as the solo in Golden Brown sounds like the solo in Golden Brown. And that apparently the day I auditioned, there was a guy before me, and when they played Golden Brown, he stood on a fuzz box and played like an Eddie Van Halen guitar solo to Golden Brown. Everybody went, whoa, 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 that's not, you know. So be respectful, you know, play what is there, but don't stick to it 100% if you don't want to. And frankly, a lot of those guitar parts and solos that Hugh Cornwell crafted were perfect to start with. I mean, he always played very economically and had a great knack of playing things that were actually easy to play, making them sound quite complex. And it wasn't until I picked the guitar up and started properly learning my parts that I realised how clever he was, you know. A lot of stuff that you just wouldn't ordinarily hear a guitarist play. So they were all inventive, all of them in their own way, and it stood out, you know. It really did.
Right. The first gig, am I right in saying the first gig you played with the band was in Kosovo?
It was. I auditioned in London on the 6th of April 2000. Funny how you remember these things, isn't it? And 10 days later, we flew to Skopje in Macedonia, and we played for the peacekeeping forces. We played 3 shows, one in Porajevo. That was the first gig I ever played. And then the second 2, we played a big basketball arena in Pristina. And that was nuts. That was nuts, you know. During the same time, we flew in helicopters and fired automatic weapons and drove tanks and lived with the British Army and various other armies. And my first public gig was in Belgium, probably in the summer of that year. But it was great because I managed to get sort of baptized, if you like, off the beaten track, because Stranglers fans are extremely diligent and aware, and also extremely critical. And I thought, right, well, if I can get to do a couple of gigs under the radar, so to speak, by the time we do a proper show, a public show. And of course, when the word got out that the internet was very much in its infancy in those days, but there was, you know, tendrils of it snaking out everywhere. And the fans got wind of the new guitarist and the new gig, you know, a gig with a new guitarist in Belgium, So there was a train of about 200 of them came from King's Cross or St. Pancras or wherever it is, came from London to watch us play. And they were all standing at the side of the stage, just giving me, you know, not daggers, but just staring, watching me every move, dissecting it. Oh, yes, no, I wouldn't have done that. But for the main, it was great. And of course, as I say, I was able to stand unmolested, if you like. I wasn't the centre of attention. I stood at the side and played guitar, stepped forward for backing vocals and guitar solos, and then stepped back into the shadows again. And it was great learning how to do that. You know, I enjoyed that. And then in 2006, when he left, Paul Roberts left, and we decided we'd keep it as a four-piece. I won't pretend that it was seamless for me, because I'm still predominantly, in my eyes, a guitarist first and foremost, and then a singer. But I grew into it. Took a good couple of years. By the time we toured in 2008, 2009, I think we had it down. And it's been that way ever since, you know.
So, I mean, that was one of my questions. That did you feel the pressure? But obviously, as you said, you had the time to kind of grow into it. And
yeah,
how did it? Like, obviously, how did it when you came to start writing new albums? Like, were you in the band? How did the writing process come then? Were you involved in that, or was JJ?
I was. Yeah. I mean, at the time, Paul wrote. JJ's always written, and I have as well. And it was only about 3 months into my time in the band that I thought I better write something. I had a little really primitive setup in the house. I mean, I'm very fortunate enough to have a pretty much a full-size studio at home now, but at the time I just had a little thing that I would get ideas down on. So I wrote a song called Dutch Moon, and I put it on 4 C30 cassette tapes. Took it out, gave it one to each member of the band. Jet was the first one to phone about a week later. I really like that song. It's a really good song. And I was just given sort of, I mean, it was an exciting time. I was new blood in the band. I'm significantly younger than everyone else I'm from an entirely different part of the UK. And so that kind of angle, me coming in with me fresh, cheeky Charlie Northern attitude, this just seemed to really embrace it. So I ended up writing 4 songs for that album, one of which became a single called Long Black Veil, which I was very proud of. My first sojourn in the recording with the Stranglers was a great success. And that album, in actual fact, thanks to mostly the title track, which was JJ wrote, it powered us back up into a good touring place. And in 2004, when that record came out, we went all over the world. We did a lot of shows, and just continually, slowly started to build it from there. So the songwriting was never a problem. There's so many ideas. Eventually, JJ and I probably will sit down. Probably not this year because there's so many gigs to do, but we'll sit down with a couple of bottles of wine and a couple of acoustic guitars, and we'll start bashing songs across the table to each other and seeing what sticks. That's the way we've traditionally done it. Sometimes you've got a fully formed idea with all the parts and everything, but that doesn't really work with the Stranglers. Everybody likes to have their own input, and contribution. So when the time comes, we'll see. There's lots of ideas. I mean, there's no shortage of things to write about in this fucked up world that we're living in at the moment. Yeah, there's always something to write about. Am I allowed to swear, by the way? Am I swearing?
Yeah, listen, it's applauded on my podcast about it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Good.
So, like, touching on that, obviously, we're coming up to 50 years of the Stranglers, so longevity's been key to the path that you have trodden. Obviously, with you being the youngest in the band, when the time comes when JJ can't go on anymore, what will happen then? Do you think you would continue, or do you think once JJ goes, that's it?
No, yeah, I couldn't. I know that a lot of people expected it would, and a lot of people, but and I've got friends. I mean, I have to be careful what I say here because I've got friends who are in bands like this where there's no original members anymore,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that doesn't sit well with me. I've had this conversation with quite a few people. And it's usually pretty split. A lot of people say, well, it's like a football team. You just change the person. And I don't see it like that. I mean, trying to replace Dave Greenfield, God rest his soul, was hard enough. How fortunate we got there and how quickly that happened is something that JJ and I still can't get over. Finding Toby Hampshire
Mm-hmm.
was a but if JJ Burnell goes, which is, he's I mean, now he is the last man standing from those old golden days, as people would have it. I don't see the point. To be honest with you, in all consciousness, in all fair, to me, to the fans as well, I don't think anybody would be interested in coming to see a band with no original members in, even though I've been there a long time. I don't know. I could be wrong. If it gets to it and he's lying on his deathbed with his mask and he opens it and he goes, keep the fires burning, Baz. You know. If it comes from him, then nah, I can't see it, Martin. I can't see it.
No,
and
so
I'm sure you agree, actually.
no. Well, that's exactly that. Die-hard fans wouldn't stand for it. I wouldn't think.
No, they wouldn't.
Obviously, you've picked up lots of fans over the years, but I'd imagine the majority of the fan base would be the same.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of the real diehard fans still have trouble with me, and I've been there for, next to Jet, Dave, and JJ, I'm the next longest serving member. Nah. Well, I'm almost certain I couldn't. It just wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right on so many levels.
So this 50th anniversary tour coming up kicks off in Glasgow, start of March.
Yep.
13 dates, I think you do, finishing off at the
Yep.
Albert Hall in London.
Yep.
So is it easy to pick a set list for a tour like this? Is it?
Well, it's never been easy to pick a set list, but this has to rank as one of the hardest ones because we're pulling in stuff from a 50-year career over 18 albums. So I think traditionally, as we've always done, well, certainly in my time in the band, JJ and I would usually pick the set list, and that would start for a March tour. That would start probably in about October, where there'd be emails and phone calls with suggestions. We'd whittle it down, make a list of about 35, maybe 40 tunes, email them to Dave, email them to Jet, and Dave now, and Jim and Toby now, as it is. So everybody's got a rough idea of what they're doing, and then we come in and we start to piece it together. We rehearsed in October, we rehearsed in November. We didn't rehearse last month for various reasons, and we've got a long rehearsal window this month, which is actually where I am now. I've been here all week, and we're here for another week to rehearse. Then we've got a week in February. Then we'll go home and recharge our batteries. And then there's a couple of days pre-production to do. And then the first show, as you say, in Glasgow. And after maybe a couple of gigs, we'll sit down and assess, is that working? Is this song working? Is that in the right place? It has to flow. There has to be a rhythm.
Yeah.
There has to be a rhyme to it. And we've always prided ourselves on doing that. So once the first couple of gigs are under our belts, then we're happy with the set, and we just sort of, I won't say we go on autopilot because you never do, but you're more comfortable. You know what you've got to do then. The first couple of gigs, I won't say they're fraught. They're not fraught, but they're always you're always on a little bit of, a cat and a hot tin roof kind of thing, sort of making sure that everything's right and getting rid of those, ironing the wrinkles out and getting rid of your nerves, It's always the same on a tour. This one especially is going to be different because we're doing 2 sets on this one. There's no support act or special guests. They'll just be us. A first half, which will comprise of a lot of weird, obscure stuff that the real diehards will wet their panties over, I would have thought. Second half, there's a bit of that as well, but obviously we'll throw much more. I mean, you've got to remember that in Clyde Auditorium, for example, I mean, there's 3,000 people, I think. 500 of them will be mad Stranglers diehards, and the rest are just public that want to hear Gordon Brown and No More Heroes and all these different things. So you've got to cater for everyone. And on top of all of that, you've got to make sure you're happy in yourself, because although there is a certain element of nostalgia to it, of course there is. It's an anniversary tour. We still like to keep things fresh, and we still like to think that we're relevant and have something to say, So it's never done on autopilot. We never go through the motions. Every show could be your last, and treat it like your first. That's the way we've always looked at it.
Looking at the venues that you're playing on this, obviously, like the Clyde Auditorium's stuck it to me. Is this a case of, because you're an older band, you're playing a venue like this? Because when I seen the tour, I just expected it to be the Barrowlands. Yeah,
well, I mean, basically we've picked seater venues because of the different show that we're attempting to perform. The first half is, I mean, I don't think all the venues are seated, but we literally just wanted to do something different. Barrowlands would have been great. And I think we did investigate it, and I just don't know if the availability of it was there or not. I can't really remember it, if I'm honest. But it's just nice to play. I mean, personally speaking, I've never played the Usher Hall in Edinburgh, which I know is kind of Scotland's answer to the Royal Albert Hall. So, there's all these little milestones to achieve from a personal point of view. It is going to be a little bit weird coming out and people sitting down, but I mean, we'll encourage everybody to stand up, and I'm sure it'll kick off. I mean, when I was a kid, my local gig was the City Hall in Newcastle, and it was always a seated venue. But I mean, I saw AC/DC, Motorhead, Scorpions, all kinds of bands there, and it never seemed to bother people. There'll always be somebody that'll complain about something, Martin. That's just the nature of the human beast. I mean, we've had people saying, "Oh, you're touring, you're cashing in. You said you'd never tour again. What's all that about?" And then there's the very same people, if we didn't tour, would go, "Why the fuck are you not touring?" You know what I mean? So you cannot win with a lot of cases. The point is that it's 50th anniversary. We never said that we wouldn't tour again. That's been confused. We just said we wouldn't do big major tours. So to those ends, this is half the amount of shows in bigger venues, which makes sense economically and everything. I mean, all right, there's a few people that complain we're not going to Wales, Cardiff, but people will always complain. Do a 45 to European British tour, encompassing every town and major rock and roll hub you can think of, and people will still whinge. That's just the way people are,
Yeah, I mean, this is the same for every band, all these up and coming bands as well. And I feel really sorry for them. See, when you see a band announce a tour, and people on Facebook saying, "Why are you not playing this place? Why are you not doing this?" And you kind of think they've spent the time to plan this tour and to put it out, and it takes a lot of time to plan a tour. And then put it out, advertise it, and then people are just slagging it off because they're not coming to their town or whatever.
You see, people are under the misapprehension, and I've said this a lot. People are under the misapprehension that the band actually picks where they want to go.
Yeah.
You know, we don't sit with a map and stick pins in it and go, right, I want to go there, 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 there. It's all about the availability of the venue and whether or not you've been invited, you know. I think for a band like us, we can make decisions as to where we'd like to play, but it's still 80% of it's out of our hands. The main thing that we, you know, in terms of gigs and stuff like that, if something comes in that we really don't want to do, no, we don't want to. We, you know, for whatever reason. I mean, off the top of my head, I can't even think of an occasion when that happened. But people think that we pick where we want to go. I've had loads of people. Why aren't you coming here? Do you not like it here or something? And you go, well, that's got nothing to do with it. The venue's not available when we want to be there. You know, X, Y, and Z. It's all got to make sense. Logistically and economically, sometimes it doesn't. You know, this tour, you play all right. You know, people are expected to travel, but I mean, we've got to travel as well. You know, we have to travel to all these different places. It's not like we can. People are whinge about traveling and stuff, but then a lot of people don't. You know, they just turn up because they're just very happy to see you. And as you rightly say, Martin, there's a lot of ne'er-do-wells in every band's following. People that are just not happy. They're just not. They're never happy unless they're fucking grousing about something. You know, that's just the nature of people.
The thing is, I used to be inwardly like that, and it's only in the last couple of years that I think a couple of years ago I went to a gig in Edinburgh because I mean I'm like 20 minutes from Glasgow, so I've always went to Glasgow. And there was one time I couldn't get to a Glasgow gig. I thought I'll go to Edinburgh. And see, once I realised how easy it was to get to Edinburgh, I thought, right, well, that's what I can do then. I can rotate between the two. And it kind of opens your avenues, because sometimes I like to go to gigs at the weekend. So sometimes a band might not be playing Glasgow when I want. I can go and see them in Edinburgh. So if you really want to see a band, you will travel.
Absolutely. I mean, especially after all these years, people would realise that. And I feel like I'm having a real go at people. I'm not really. I mean, it's only a very small minority in the grand scheme of things. But you know, it's some of the excuses that you get from them. And you think, oh, really, really? You know, how old are you? Sorry, you're 60, aren't you? You're not 16. I just, you know, really. But as we all know, there are people in life who are eternal optimists, and conversely, there are eternal pessimists, and that's just the way it is, you know.
So, I hope this tour goes well. I know it will.
Thank you.
Obviously, I'm looking at your tour dates after that. It looks like you've got some kind of festival dates as well coming up.
Yep, it's going to be a busy. I mean, as you know, as it is now, it's only the middle of January, so we expect a lot of things to be firmed up in the coming sort of 6 weeks. To end of February, beginning of March is generally when the rest of the year starts to make more sense. But for now, we've got the UK tour. There's a lot of festivals. We didn't play the UK at all last year, specifically for that reason, for this reason. The last time we played was 22, so people will be looking, you know, forward to that. And then we've got quite a few UK festivals as well as some European ones. We're having a rare sojourn across to the United States in May to do a festival in California, which is not something
that kind of stuck
we don't go to America very often, so it's going to be interesting to go over there for a while. I've got some friends over there I need to see and different things. And then later on in the year, there's European stuff being lined up, I know, for October and November. So when that's firmed up and everything, it'll be announced in due course. And hopefully there'll be a lot more to fill the Europe as well. So it's probably those reasons why we're not going to probably do much recording this year, because there's just a lot of shows to do, you know. And of course, the older you get, the more it takes it out of you.
Yeah, it sounds like a busy year though.
Yeah.
So, absolute pleasure having you on the day, taking the time to
You
come
too.
on the
Nice to
podcast.
talk to you.
Obviously, the last bit that I says to you about at the start, four heroes to come for dinner. Why they're your heroes, and what would you cook them?
So, I wish somebody had told me about this yesterday and I could have had more of a thought about it instead of 20 minutes ago. Um, Oliver Hardy,
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up with Laurel and Hardy and I always found him to be the one that I watched the most. Um, I'd probably cook him a whole leg of lamb because he looks like he could probably eat it. Um, I love him. It's such a funny man. David Attenborough,
Right, fascinating.
just King Dave, as we like to call him, myself and my wife, who's Scots, incidentally. My
Right.
wife's a Scot, so that's how I can understand you so good. You know what I mean? Uh, cheeky bastard there. We watch a lot of Attenborough, everything. And I would probably make him something vegan or vegetable. I don't know if he is a vegetarian, but I don't get the impression that he eats much meat. I don't know. I could be wrong. Uh, so my wife's a vegan, so I'm sure she'd make something nice for him. Um, when I was growing up, I was very keen. Well, I still am a very keen Sunderland Association Football Club supporter for my sins.
Brilliant.
And my hero in the 70s was a guy called Dennis Chewett,
Right.
who went on to play for Man City and New York Cosmos, and he played for England and this, that, and the other. And I just adored Dennis Chewett. He was number 11, same as me, and when I was a kid. So I would have him. I have met Dennis before actually, and he's a fairly slight guy. So I think I'd cook him something light, something light, like a nice light omelette or something.
What was he?
Um,
Was he a striker or a winger?
he was an outside left, but it was the first time in my lifetime that an outside left, but he was naturally right-footed.
Right.
So they played him out on the left, and he cut in a lot. I mean, he was both feet, but he was naturally right-footed. And so I'd never heard of somebody playing on the left with a right foot. I mean, I was only a kid, I
You
was
look at that now, and it's everywhere
it's
now.
common. I mean, everybody does it, but back in the day in the 70s, I remember somebody saying about his natural sweet right foot, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, he plays on the left. And then my dad, God rest his soul, he said to him, no, 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 no. He says he cuts inside. He cuts inside. So that was, I loved him. I loved him, and I was gutted when he went to Man City. But there you go. The last one, oh God, who could it be? I mean, it's there's so many. There's so many. Okay, I'll just for daft, I'll say Victoria Wood, who's an incredibly funny woman. I know that's probably that's, and I don't know what I'd cook for her. Maybe a steak pie. She looked like a kind of a steak pie sort of lassie. But she was incredibly funny, and we spent a lot of Saturday nights at home because my parents were big fans of her, so we'd watch it.
You see her on
I'm
all
sure
these.
when we say goodbye here, Martin, I'll think of another 10 immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You,
But
you see how she gets on all these like top 50 comedians or whatever. She's always kind of up there.
yeah,
She's
very, very, very. Her maybe or Julie Walters. Very original, inspirational British actresses and comedians. Just fantastic. Victoria Wood was a great songwriter as well and very funny. So yeah, and again, taken way too soon, But I hope that's comprehensive enough for you. Top of my head,
yeah,
thinking.
good choices. A couple of them haven't been picked before, so it's always nice to have new ones. David Attenborough, obviously. What do you? David Attenborough seems to he's probably been around longer than the Stranglers. It keeps on going. Who do
He's
you
one of the rare ones.
do you see anybody as a natural successor to him? Because surely it can't go on forever. Somebody else has to.
No, I mean, there's a lot of great naturalists and ecologists and I mean, no. The thing is, when you see, I mean, a perfect example. If you're sitting with an hour to kill, and you don't really know what to do, and you're not really engaging with anything really, and you've got a cup of tea or a glass of wine or something, and you think, "Oh, am I going to kill an hour?" If you put the telly on and you see that Attenborough's on there, you just watch it.
It's
You
the
know,
voice in it as well. He's taking
yeah,
facts.
it's his knowledge, and his gentle English way. And the fact that if you look at some of the original footage of him from the 1950s, I mean, he was going to Galapagos in the 50s when it took a week and a half to get there, and all this ridiculous black and white footage, younger than you and I by quite a stretch, and he's still doing it. And then, you look at all those ones like The Blue Planet and Life of Birds and all those amazing documentaries with groundbreaking technology. And of course, if somebody says that Attenborough is at the helm of it, he wants to do this, then people take notice. And so the programs are always impeccable. The only thing I would say, and again, it's not a criticism, is that as he gets older, he always seems to finish his programs off now with the planet. We need to do more and make people aware and all this type of thing, which is always very interesting. What I mean, say hello to Martin.
Hi, Martin.
Hey,
Where are you calling from?
Glasgow.
Hey,
right. Are you East Kilbride?
Well, I'm Motherwell, really, outside.
Okay.
Motherwell, so they're a football team.
2 seconds.
Oh, you're not going.
Yeah. Are you not staying there?
You're going. Right. No. I'll have a look. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
That's a surprise. He's making me some tea. God love him. Yeah, I mean, he tends to sign off a lot of his shows now with "Look After the Planet," and I guess when you've been traversing the planet as long as he has, and seeing the changes that he's seeing, he's just a wonderful human being. And me and my wife were just saying just the other day, when he goes, because he's in his 90s now, isn't he? As you rightly say. So I honestly don't know. I would have loved to have met Oliver Hardy because. As I said, I was a huge fan, and when the last time we were in the States in LA in 2019, I think it was, we went to the steps in Silver Lake in Los Angeles where they schlepped that piano up and down the steps. The famous film, The Music Box from the 1930s, those steps are actually still there. So, and I was like a schoolboy. I really was. I couldn't believe it. I took a video and texted it and sent it to all my brothers. Look at this. Look where I am. Fucking hell, fantastic. So yeah, and I can't even remember who I said the other ones were.
Yeah, Victoria Wood and your footballer, Dave. Was it Dave?
Dennis Chewett. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I always like a footballer getting picked as well. It's nice. But I'll not keep you any longer. Obviously,
no, it's been a pleasure talking to you, mate. No worries, not a problem at all. It's nice to talk to you. Like I say, my wife is Scots and her family's from East Kilbride. It's just when you said you were close to Glasgow, I thought,
yeah, so Motherwell, so it's probably about the same, probably about 10 minutes for East Kilbride.
Aye. Are you a Motherwell supporter?
No, Glasgow Celtic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so you've obviously you're obviously very in tune with the huge rivalries up there. I mean, I won't I know the Celtic Rangers thing's a whole different ball of wax, but the Sunderland Newcastle one is always something to behold. And they battered us out of the FA Cup a couple of weeks ago. As much as I hate to say it, they were really good and they just played us off the park. We didn't have a sniff.
A lot
But
of
you know,
money
it's
been
about
spent there, though, hasn't there?
I know. Well, on paper, they're supposed to be the richest team in the world, aren't they?
Yeah.
They needed to win a local derby because we won the last 6. So, you know.
You think your local derbies seem to be bigger, I think, because you don't play each other as often.
Yeah.
I've seen
Especially
they were
something
talking
like the
about
third
keeping
round of the FA. Yeah, third round of the FA Cup. I mean, doesn't get much bigger than that.
Yeah.
You know, it was freezing cold. It was lashing down with rain. I mean, it was proper FA Cup weather. And it's Sunderland versus Newcastle. There was 50,000 there. They let the one entire bottom section of one end out to Newcastle supporters, so there was 6,000 turned up. The chairman, who's a young French kid, you might have seen this in the news, made a serious error of judgment by allocating one of the bars at the ground, to the Newcastle United board and blah, blah, blah. So everything was black and white. There was fucking hell on. There was hell on. He then came out, give him his due, because he's French and he's only 27 or 28. He doesn't understand. I mean, he doesn't understand what it means to pick. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
You know, by all means, extend a friendly handshake. By all means, accommodate the fans. By all means, make it an occasion. By all means, police it and you know, get security right, and so that everybody can have a good time. But don't, like, you know, fucking goad people. Anyway, so it's ancient history now. It's all over now.
We don't even have fans in. We've not had away fans for the last 2 years.
Oh,
But, they cut our allocation. We used to get like 8,000. Used to be 8,000. We'd go to Ibrox, and then they cut it to 800, and it became unsafe because you were in a wee corner with fans above you, and you were getting pelted with hands. So Celtic just says, "Look, we'll no go," and then they're no coming to us. So it's been like that the last 2 years.
Well, at one point, the Sunderland Newcastle ones, they didn't let Sunderland fans go to Newcastle, and then they wouldn't let Newcastle fans come to Sunderland, and then they decided that wasn't right. So they played a couple of them entirely behind closed doors, like in lockdown with no crowd. Sunderland played Newcastle at St James's Park with no people there, because they were trying to make a point, you know. So much violence and so much. I mean, it seems to be getting better now. People won't stand for it, and of course, with security and mobile phones, somebody starts setting on somebody, you just whip your phone out and film it and send it to the police, and people are caught. And you know, I mean, so anyway, mate, that's
a wee message there for Jenny. Tell me I have to wrap it up. So
okay, she's great, Jenny.
An absolute pleasure having you on, and all the best for the tour.
Pleasure to talk to you, Martin. You take care of yourself. Thanks again, mate.
Thank you.
All the best. Cheers.
I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Time for Heroes podcast. If you would like to get in touch, the best way is on the Facebook page, Time for Heroes podcast, or on Instagram at Time for Heroes podcast, or Twitter at Time for Heroes P1, or drop me an email at timeforheroespod@gmail.com. You'll find Time for Heroes on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Google and Amazon. Please leave a review where you can, share with others, and more importantly, enjoy.